I'm starting to delve into the yoga concepts, specifically the first five chakras. My focus is on shaping this information into a soft, novel format from a humorous first-person perspective. The goal is to bring these concepts to life with a sense of fun. I'm now drafting the novel chapter by chapter, with a focus on integrating humor and emotional well-being into each chakra's description. Currently, I am working with Muladhara and Svadhisthana, using their descriptions as source material. My exploration has moved towards how to make the abstract concepts relatable, grounding them in the experiences of being. For Muladhara, I'm thinking about the contrast of being grounded versus feeling like a balloon. I'm now fully immersed in the art room concept, focusing on the second chakra, Svadhisthana, and the hips, the emotional storage area. I'm exploring the guilt around pleasure, contrasting it with the need to embrace joy, even through snacks. I'm refining the voice to make the content relatable, and I'm validating the need to feel without guilt to bring the novel to life. I've moved on to the third chakra, Manipura, solar plexus, and I'm exploring concepts like willpower, self-esteem, digestion, and the fire within. I'm using the hangry angle for humor and exploring the difference between feeling confident and feeling secure. This chakra's hook is personal power and snack guilt. I am also trying to capture a sense of personal agency to explore the emotional well-being aspect. I'm now diving into the fourth chakra, Anahata, the heart chakra, and I'm really enjoying exploring concepts of love, compassion, and balance. I'm imagining the heart as an emotional Wi-Fi hub and using that as a hook. I'm also grappling with the physical manifestations of protecting my heart, like hunching, and the vulnerability of opening up and the humor in that. I'm crafting relatable scenarios about boundaries versus guarding to make this chakra real. I'm now fully immersed in the fifth chakra, Vishuddha, exploring the throat chakra's concepts of communication, self-expression, and truth. I'm focusing on the physical sensations, like the lump in the throat and the fear of speaking up, and juxtaposing them with the liberating joy of singing off-key. I'm exploring the humor in mumbling to avoid conflict and the emotional aspects of authenticity. I'm also refining my voice, using the metaphor of the bottleneck of the bottle to connect swallowing words with emotional indigestion. I'm working on the novel's conclusion, focusing on a holistic view incorporating all chakras. I am reviewing previous chapters to ensure a cohesive ending. My goal is to synthesize the concepts of the previous chakras into a compelling, humorous finale. I'm exploring how the journey's lessons culminate in a final moment of self-discovery, and I'm really excited about it. My natural state is that of a helium balloon with a loose string. I float around in my head, bumping into clouds, worrying about hypothetical scenarios involving the year 2030. Muladhara, the root chakra located at the base of the spine, is the friendly rock that ties me down. When my root is blocked, I am clumsy. I trip over flat surfaces. I feel anxious about everything, including whether plants have feelings. I feel like I don't belong on earth. Working with Muladhara is the unglamorous practice of remembering I have feet. I stand in the grass. I stomp around. I eat potatoes, very grounding, spiritually speaking. I remind my nervous system that I am not a ghost. I am a mammal with gravity. When this chakra hums, the anxiety settles. I feel heavy in the best way, like a weighted blanket is wrapped around my soul. I realize that I am supported by the earth, which is nice, because holding myself up all the time was getting exhausting. If the root is the basement foundation, Svadhisthana is the messy, colorful living room where the party happens. Located in the hips and sacrum, this is the water center. It flows, or in my case, it often stagnates because I'm trying to be productive instead of human. This chakra governs emotions, pleasure, and creativity. When I ignore it, life becomes a gray spreadsheet. I feel stiff, bored, and guilty about wanting a cookie. Opening the sacral chakra usually happens in pigeon pose, where my hips scream, "Why are we doing this?" And suddenly I want to cry. That's the dam breaking.
I'm currently analyzing the request, focusing on the source material, Power Yoga, Sivananda Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Raja Yoga, and the desired soft novel format. I'm exploring how these concepts can be woven into a narrative structure. I'm now focusing on infusing humor and emotional well-being into each yoga concept. Power yoga's internal struggles and the humorous aspects of the Sivananda yoga experience, particularly the surprise of over-relaxation, are taking shape. I'm aiming for relatable humor and self-deprecation to enhance reader engagement. I'm now fully immersed in the specific aspects of Sivananda yoga. I'm imagining the humor in rigid structures, the vegetarian lifestyle, and the emotional angle of a holistic reset for a chaotic brain. I'm also drafting ideas like proper exercise, proper breathing, proper relaxation, improper thoughts about pizza. I'm also exploring Bhakti Yoga's devotional heart, which is all about singing and love, even if the singing is less than perfect. I'm seeing the humor in the cringe turning into joy and drafting humorous lines like, "I sing like a dying frog." I'm now diving deep into Karma Yoga. I'm imagining the internal conflict of doing good deeds. The clash between wanting recognition and seeking genuine purpose is surfacing as a key source of humor. I'm also drafting lines like, "I wanted a receipt for my kindness," and "scrubbing the toilet of enlightenment." The ego's struggle with anonymity feels particularly rich for comedic exploration. I'm now fully immersed in Raja Yoga's core. The core focus here is the mental discipline and the concept of controlling the monkey mind. I find the inherent humor in the struggle for mental stillness very engaging. I'm exploring the fake it till you make it nature of mental discipline and the idea of ruling the kingdom of the couch. I'm aiming for relatable struggles in the midst of the concept. I'm now integrating the distinct elements of each yoga style into the novel's framework. I'm focusing on contrasting Power Yoga's internal struggles with Sivananda's structured tranquility and Bhakti's heartfelt devotion. I'm also addressing the humor in Karma's validation desires and Raja's mental discipline. My goal is to strike a balance between relatability and uplifting well-being. I'm now finalizing the integration of the concepts, ensuring the narrative maintains both the novel's flow and the project's parameters. I have incorporated the concept of a spiritual boy band, with the singing cracking open the heart, to make sure this novel is a novel, with humor and emotional well-being present. This fulfills all constraints, and final review is complete. I'm zeroing in on the core of the request. I'm focusing on the source material, the yoga styles from items 17 to 21. Now, I'm working to understand the soft novel format to best shape the output. The goal is to figure out how to weave those styles into that kind of framework. I've been working on Hatha Yoga. I'm aiming for a humorous, relatable approach. Right now, I'm developing its responsible adult persona, contrasting it with our chaotic modern life. I'm focusing on the feeling of stability, likening it to comfort food. The longer holds are creating mental friction, and I'm framing it as a reminder to slow down, like someone reminding you to drink water. I'm now fully immersed in vinyasa. My focus is on its rhythm and the relatable humor found in attempting gracefulness. I'm exploring the swan versus goose landing dichotomy, and that struggle for fluidity is the humor of vinyasa. I'm working on the emotional angle, considering the relief from incessant mental chatter. Right now, I'm working to make the state of flow tangible and engaging. I'm now diving deep into Iyengar Yoga. I'm seeing it as a structured workshop with a focus on alignment and the humor in the details. I'm exploring the construction site metaphor and that comedic feeling of being micromanaged. I see an emotional release in relying on support, finding safety and clarity through the precision of the poses. I'm now zeroing in on Kundalini. I am embracing the weirdness of it all head on. I'm exploring the spiritual espresso metaphor and its comedic potential. I'm envisioning the perspective of an outsider, seeing arms raised for 11 minutes and the breath of fire as panting, then translating that into the emotional angle of vitality and the awakening of dormant self-parts. I'm aiming for the relatable humor in the physical challenge of the kriyas. I'm now backpedaling to review the current work. The key is in refining the emotional transitions within each yoga style. I'm prioritizing ensuring the tone stays soft and comforting and it avoids any cynicism, particularly in styles like Ashtanga. I'm zeroing in on highlighting the relief found in structured routines rather than just the physical challenges. The goal is to create a seamless transition from humor to well-being in each section. I used to think Hatha meant easy yoga. I thought it was just stretching and napping. Then I went to a class, held a warrior 2 for 12 human minutes and realized that Hatha is actually the ancient art of being still while your thighs write angry letters to management. Hatha is the classic, the sourdough bread of yoga styles. It's not flashy. It doesn't need a playlist of tribal house music. It just asks you to inhale, move, and stay. The staying is the medicine. In a life where I am constantly scrolling, clicking, and rushing to the next thing, Hatha forces me to pause. I hold the pose. My brain says, okay, got it, let's move on. Hatha says, not yet. My brain says, but I'm bored. Hatha says, boredom is just peace wearing a disguise. Breathe. There is a profound peanut butter and jelly comfort in this practice. It balances the ha, sun active, and tha, moon receptive parts of me. It reminds me that I don't have to be a blur of motion to be valid. I can be solid. I can be deliberate. When I finally release the pose, the rush of blood feels like a standing ovation from my own circulatory system. I walk out of class feeling sturdy, like a well-built table that can handle whatever messy dinner life decides to serve on it. If Hatha is a sturdy table, Vinyasa is a river, sometimes a gentle brook, sometimes a class 5 rapid that knocks me over. Vinyasa links breath to movement in a continuous dance. Inhale, lift, exhale, fold. It sounds poetic, and sometimes it is. Other times the teacher calls out a transition like float to the top of your mat, and while my spirit is ready to float, my body lands with the grace of a sack of potatoes dropped from a cargo plane. But the beauty of the flow is that there's no time to dwell on the potato landing. We're already moving to the next shape. This is the emotional gift of Vinyasa. It forces me out of my head and into the rhythm. I cannot worry about my unanswered emails when I am trying to figure out which leg goes where without falling on my neighbor. The sheer coordination required acts like a silencer for my anxiety. For an hour, I am not a person with problems. I am a person with momentum. I sweep my arms up and I feel a little bit majestic. I wobble in a balance pose and I laugh. It's play, it's improv.
I've begun delving into the Yoga Sutras, specifically concepts 7 through 11. My current focus is extending each concept into a soft, novel format from a first-person perspective, with humor and a strong emphasis on emotional well-being. I'm exploring the implications of santosha, tapas, svadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana, and asana in daily life, and the potential impact of each on my own practice. I'm now finding fresh angles on the Yoga Sutras, adding a comedic layer. I'm focusing on contentment and the I am enough feeling, even when I'm reaching for more. I'm also exploring discipline and change, and the friction that creates. Self-study has me observing my life choices, like tacos at midnight. Surrender feels like trusting the universe to steer. I'm now integrating the physical aspects of yoga practice more deeply into my narrative. I'm visualizing the tree pose, not just as a static posture, but as a metaphor for navigating life's inherent instabilities. The gentle humor of gravity as a committed trainer is a core focus, giving a soft approach to self-improvement. The wobbles become a fashion statement. I spend a lot of time in the if-only lounge. If only I had a flatter stomach. If only I had a bigger paycheck. If only I could touch my toes without making a sound like a rusty gate opening. I've spent years thinking that happiness is a destination I'll arrive at once. I've finally optimized every square inch of my existence. Santosha is the practice of checking out of the lounge and realizing the lobby I'm standing in is actually pretty nice. On the mat, it happens when I'm in a deep twist and I hear the unmistakable creak of my leggings being pushed to their absolute structural limit. My old self would have been mortified. My Santosha self just smiles and thinks, well, at least the seams are holding. It's the radical act of being okay with the right now. It doesn't mean I don't want to grow. It just means I've stopped making my self-worth a hostage to my future goals. I can be a work in progress and a masterpiece at the same time. I look at my life, with its weird quirks, its unfinished projects, and its occasional laundry mountain, and I give it a thumbs up. I'm good. Not perfect good, but actually alive and trying good. And honestly, that's plenty. My natural state is couch potato with a side of procrastination. If there were an Olympic event for finding the most comfortable way to lie down, I would take the gold every single time. Discipline, to me, used to feel like a mean gym teacher with a whistle, yelling at me to do things I hated. Tapas is the rebrand. It's the inner heat, the friction that happens when you choose the growth over the comfort. It's that moment when I'm holding a plank and my core starts to shake like a frightened chihuahua. That's the burn. It's the feeling of my excuses melting away. But it's not just physical. Tapas is also the discipline of not checking my phone when I'm bored or choosing to be kind when I'm hangry. It's the fire that transforms the raw dough of my intentions into the actual bread of my life. Yes, extra cheese is great. I love extra cheese. but tapas reminds me that if I only ever choose the extra cheese path, I'll never find out what I'm actually capable of. Sometimes you have to stay in the heat of the moment until you stop trying to escape it. I'm learning to sit with the discomfort until it turns into strength. It's a slow cook, but the results are much more satisfying than a quick snack. I used to think I knew myself. Then I started practicing svadhyaya, and I realized I was actually living with a total stranger who just happens to use my toothbrush. Svadhyaya is self-study, the practice of looking at my own patterns without immediately trying to file a restraining order against them. It's becoming a scientist of my own soul. I start to notice things. Interesting. Every time I feel rejected, I buy 3 types of artisanal cheese and watch period dramas for 6 hours. Or, fascinating, when I'm stressed, I start speaking in a passive-aggressive tone that only dogs can hear. It's not about judging, it's about observing. It's realizing that my bad choices are usually just mismanaged attempts to feel safe or loved. I look back at my life and see the recurring themes, and instead of face palming, I offer myself a little bit of grace. And yes, it includes the tacos. Svadhyaya is realizing that a midnight taco isn't a failure of willpower. Sometimes it's a necessary act of soul-fueling joy.
I'm currently focused on dissecting the user's initial request. I'm pinpointing the core topic, yoga's intersection with ancient philosophical ideas. My aim is to grasp the desired format, which is described as a soft novel style. I'm now zeroing in on the narrative voice. I'm aiming for humor and relatability, infusing the writing with a breezy tone and soft jokes. I'm focusing on the contrast between ancient concepts and modern experiences. I'm finding the visual nature of the yantra intriguing and amusing. I'm really enjoying the contrast between chaos and structure that the yantra allows to be. I'm now thinking about the visual elements, particularly the contrast between the yantra's clean lines and my mind's clutter. I find the mandala's circular nature and its connection to wholeness and impermanence humorously reflecting the coloring book trend. I'm finding satsang's communal aspect relatable, considering my initial social anxiety. I'm now contemplating service without attachment. It strikes me how relatable the urge to broadcast good deeds is, even for doing mundane tasks. The draft about scrubbing toilets sparked an unexpected thought, the lightness of not being the main character. I'm also delving into mudita, the concept of celebrating others' joy. The feeling of jealousy when scrolling Instagram and the relief of not competing is very relatable. I'm imagining the comparison of my friend got engaged, promoted to yay for you. I can already feel that joy, so I am going to try to eat cake at someone else's wedding. I'm now zeroing in on specific writing topics. The yantra will be visual caffeine, contrasting modern chaos with geometric precision. I will explore the mandala's still center amidst a spinning world. The Vedas will be spiritual rap verses, emphasizing how rhythm bypasses overthinking. I want to convey the peace these concepts bring, like a good mixtape or scrolling past something on Instagram. I'm now fully immersed in the final output. My focus is on generating a cohesive soft novel, weaving together all the prior insights. I'm prioritizing clarity and flow, ensuring the tone remains humorous and relatable while conveying the depth of ancient concepts. I'm aiming for a finished product that resonates with a modern audience, while conveying that sense of visual caffeine the yantra is. I'm now zeroing in on the best way to translate yoga and philosophy into a soft novel format. The aim is to use humor and gentle jokes to create a relatable first-person narrative centered on emotional well-being. I've added the next 2 concepts to my initial list, and I'm drafting Prakriti. I'm focusing on crafting Prakriti as a reality show producer, and I, as Purusha, am a chill observer of the unfolding drama. My aim is to inject humor into the struggle of accepting Prakriti's constant changes. I'm focusing on the irony of seeking peace while being subject to the whims of the material world. I'm also planning to bring in the Yoga Sutras as cheat codes or instructions. I'm now picturing Patanjali as a hilariously deadpan friend. I'm imagining crafting the story around feeling seen and relieved, like having a guide for the sitting still boss level. My personal battleground is my inbox, and I'm resonating with Arjuna's pre-battle panic. I'm aiming to use Krishna's advice as a strategy for managing performance anxiety. I'm now contemplating how to weave the concepts of Brahman and Atman into my narrative. I'm visualizing them as OG TED Talks that ask the big, scary questions. The humor will come from the contrast between the vastness of the universe and everyday concerns, like laundry. It's a bit unsettling, but also strangely comforting, to realize I am more than just my ego. I'm now drawing inspiration from the Ramayana, specifically Rama's journey and the crucial role of Hanuman. The emphasis is on the relatable challenge of travel, especially when the stakes are high, like rescuing a spouse from a demon king. I'm focusing on the unexpected forms of help and the themes of loyalty and love that arise from it. This idea has a bit more depth than the earlier themes. If Purusha is the silent observer on the couch, Prakriti is the chaotic, high-energy producer running the show. She is responsible for the weather, the changing seasons, my digestion, my grey hairs, and the sudden urge to clean the garage at 3 a.m. I used to fight Prakriti. I wanted the show to be a calm documentary about a person who never ages and never feels sad. Prakriti looked at my script notes, laughed, and sent in a thunderstorm and a hormonal breakout. Now, I respect her production value. She is dynamic. She is creative. She ensures that nothing stays the same, which is annoying when I'm happy, but a relief when I'm miserable. Making peace with Prakriti means accepting that I am part of the natural world. I am not a statue, I am a garden. Sometimes I bloom, sometimes I wilt, and sometimes I get rained on. It's all part of the content. I just have to trust that the producer knows what she's doing, even if I would have cut the scene about the parking ticket. I tried to read the Yoga Sutras like a novel once. It was a mistake. It's not a story. It's a technical manual for a piece of equipment I barely know how to operate, my mind. Patanjali is the author, and I imagine him as a very dry, very wise IT support guy. Me. My brain is making a weird noise and I can't stop worrying. Patanjali's, have you tried Sutra 1.2, restraining the mind stuff? Me. Yes, but have you tried panicking? The sutras are cheat codes. They tell me exactly how the game works. They explain that my suffering usually comes from confusing who I am with how I feel. When I actually apply the codes, when I practice non-attachment or focus, the glitch stops, the screen clears. I realize I don't have to play the game on hard mode forever. There is a way to hack the system, and the secret password is usually just breathe. The Bhagavad Gita opens with the hero, Arjuna, having a full-blown panic attack in the middle of a battlefield. He drops his bow, he cries, he says, I can't do this. I have never related to a hero more. My battlefield is usually just an overflowing inbox or a difficult conversation with a landlord, but the feeling of I want to go home is identical. The rest of the book is Krishna, the divine, giving Arjuna the ultimate pep talk. He doesn't say, don't worry, it'll be easy. He says, you have to do your duty, but you have to let go of the outcome. This concept saves me weekly. It reminds me that I don't have to save the world. I just have to stand up and do my small part. I have the right to the work, not the reward. It takes the pressure off. I pick up my metaphorical bow, my laptop, take a breath, and get back to work, knowing that I'm supported by something much bigger than my own anxiety.